Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. It's our 2024 WTA Grand Slam predictions. So we're going to be going through our champions for each and every Grand Slam for 2024, and also I will be talking about a dark horse for each slam as well. So a player who I think will either make a surprising quote unquote run or potentially even be able to win the tournament, but someone who might go under the radar as one of the favorites for the tournament. Before we get into the room, to that like button, do subscribe if you're new and do leave a rating or review if you're listening on a podcast platform. Thank you to all of you as well for your support. As always, it's been a very good start to 2024, not just for the channel, but for tennis in general. I'm very much looking forward to the season. And if you haven't checked out my ATP version of this, then go and check that out after this video. I promise you won't be disappointed. Okay, let's get into it. So, Australian Open. Australian Open. Well, last year we were treated to a pretty exciting final between Sabalenka and Rybakina, and we're actually going to get a repeat of that at the Brisbane International Tournament. So, yeah, I don't have the privilege of having watched that to give this prediction, but I think both those players will be in contention again this year. I just think both their games are so strong on a quicker hard court surface, and there will be some other players who will definitely have something to say. Iga Swiatek being one of them. She's never made an Australian Open final or won the tournament yet, but it's definitely one that I can see her winning sooner rather than later. However, I have gone for Arina Sabalenka to defend her title. Now, she's only won the single Grand Slam, but had a very good year last year, winning the Australian Open, then also making the semi-finals of Roland Garros and Wimbledon, to then lose in the final of the US Open to Coco Gauff. So I was umming and ahhing about whether I think she's going to win the Australian Open or US Open. I think it's going to be tougher for her to win Roland Garros and even Wimbledon as well, but just because there are some other, let's say, trickier players for her stylistically on those specific surfaces. But she's got a chance at all the slams. I just think she's playing really well and has this real, I would say, confidence about her and trust in her game now that I think puts her in really good stead. And it's shown in all her results, right? Since winning that Australian Open, it's been very, very good from the Belarusian, and she continues to improve in her game and show why she is at the top of the game alongside the likes of Iga Swiatek. So I've gone for her to defend the title. It would be a very impressive victory. I'm sure a lot of you might be going for someone different, say a Swiatek or Rybakina, and I can see why. But just seeing her play recently as well, and there might be a bit of recency bias involved, I've been quite impressed with the way that she's been playing. And if she does take that into the slam, which is coming up, I think it's going to be tough for the rest of the field to keep up. The draw will have a big part, of course, as always. My dark horse is Elina Svitolina. Now, I actually was going to potentially go for Wozniacki before the season had started. I was thinking about her. She's obviously won the Australian Open as well in the past. And I was quite impressed with her comeback last year. And even though she didn't make huge waves at the slams, she, in my opinion, doesn't seem too far off where I think, okay, she can be really competitive and go deep at a slam. So, she's got a lot to offer, but it's hard to gauge where she's really at after losing in her first round match to Elina Svitolina. But since that win, Svitolina has beaten the likes of Raducanu and others, and she's in the final of the Auckland Classic playing Coco Gauff in that. So that would be a really good yardstick to see where her level's at. But I've gone for her as my dark horse. Now, in terms of her record at the Australian Open, she actually didn't play in 2023, but she did play the tournament every single year from 2013. Now, not incredible results there, but she made two quarterfinals back to back in 2018 and 2019. Her best results have actually come, if you want to say, in terms of consistently good results or best results anyway, at Wimbledon semi-finals in 2023 and also in 2019. So she didn't play in 2022 or 2020. So well, 2 out of her last 3 appearances at Wimbledon have been semi-finals, so not bad going. But I've gone for her at the Australian Open just because of current form, and also I think she's starting to play a more aggressive brand of tennis and has evolved since her comeback after having her child. So that's been really refreshing to see, and her style of play is pretty exciting at the moment to watch. So she fights till the end. She clearly has something about her where she's looking to win a slam, which would be incredibly impressive. And she wasn't too far off last year, to be fair. Quarterfinals of Roland Garros, semifinals of Wimbledon, third round at the US Open. So look, I mean, she's looking to capitalize and continue in that vein. Roland Garros. And Roland Garros is probably one of the easier ones to pick just because Mukova has been, she's just got injured now as well. And even though I think she'll be good on all surfaces if she's fit, she was the player that really pushed, well, I was going to say Sabalenka, but Swiatek even in that final. Sabalenka, to be fair, could cause issues for Swiatek as well, but I find it very difficult to go against Iga Swiatek because on clay, there's a difference between her and Sabalenka. I think Sabalenka can beat Swiatek. She showed it in Madrid, although those are faster conditions than in Paris. And the altitude makes a difference. I think Sabalenka serves a lot more poignant on, in those conditions. The difference between herself and Swiatek on a clay court is that Swiatek is able to dispatch low-ranked opponents very easily and get through matches with little to almost no trouble unless you're a top 5 player. Sabalenka doesn't necessarily have that same ability on clay, and she may struggle. She may lose a set here or there. She may even get dragged into a long battle, and she could potentially lose as well on clay before even meeting Seiya Swiatek in a final. So that's why I didn't really look towards Sabalenka. And despite her really consistent run of results at slams, I just feel like Roland Garros is the one place where I could see her getting upset more than more than anywhere else, even. So I've gone for Iga Swiatek. I think I'm looking for her to win yet another Roland Garros title, and I do think she's going to dominate that slam. Not necessarily to the same degree as Nadal, but in a similar way, I think, because she does seem like she's levels above on that surface, and I think there will be some players like Nadal had Djokovic and Federer at times here or there beat him on clay, and Swiatek might have the same thing with say a Sabalenka or even maybe a Rybakina, who knows, or even a Gauff. But I think generally speaking, she's going to have the upper hand against these players throughout the majority of her career, I would imagine. So I've gone for Iga Swiatek to win Roland Garros and defend her title. So those are two pretty big calls from me to say that the Australian Open winner and Roland Garros winners from last year will retain their titles. Then I've gone for Haddad Mayer as my dark horse, and she went to semi-finals last year. I was impressed with her level of play in that tournament. Not really much else to talk about Roland Garros before then, but she's definitely on the up and up. She made, she made the top 20 last year. She won the WTA Elite Trophy, which is all the players outside of the top 8. So 8, I think it's 9 to 20 ranked players, and she's now number 11 in the world. Was at the end of 2023. So she's going to be seeded higher as well, most likely at Roland Garros, unless she has a massive downturn in form. And I can see her causing real problems, and I would be interested to see her against, say, an Iga at Roland Garros or someone else, and I think she could cause issues. And I think with her game, she's very consistent. She fights. She's a lefty. She can serve, relatively big as well, and she's got good variety in her game. So she's continually improving, and I think she could be a real danger on the red dirt. Wimbledon is, I have to say, a little bit of a fairy tale pick for me. I'm going to hold my hands up and say that's the case. I've gone for Ons Jabeur to finally win a Grand Slam title and win it at Wimbledon. Ons Jabeur has made the final of Wimbledon in back-to-back years. In 2022, losing to Rybakina in 3 sets, and then last year to Vondrousova losing as well. She also made the US Open final in 2022, losing to Swiatek. But in all honesty, I wasn't expecting her to win that in 2022. I just have a feeling that it is going to come. Now, it may never come, and it would be a massive shame if it doesn't. But I've just gone for maybe a little bit more of what my heart wants than what my gut actually thinks. But I do think Wimbledon is quite open, very open. In fact, I think it's arguably the most open slam out of the four on the WTA tour, just because Swiatek is not particularly strong on grass. I don't see her winning Wimbledon, not this year anyway. I think she will at some point in her career, but not this year. I think she's still got some real improvements to make there, and she could click like Alcaraz did. To be fair, last year, Rybakina, is very dangerous on grass, and we saw it. And given that she's won her Grand Slam there, the fact that she's a massive server, has big ground strokes, and the only real you know, cloud of doubt around her is her injuries, and also the fact that look, I mean, Jabeur beat her last year on grass, and I would maybe argue that Sabalenka might be on grass as well. I think it'd be a very interesting match to see. We've seen it on hard court. I'd love to see that matchup on grass. And Sabalenka is another one who will be very dangerous at Wimbledon. I think her, Rybakina, Jabeur, those are the three that I'm looking at. But I've gone for Ons Jabeur. She beat Sabalenka, Rybakina, Andreescu, Kvitova all the way to the final. You could argue those are harder opponents than Vondrousova. And if she's able to play at that level that she played at before the final, that is, in this upcoming tournament, it's going to be extremely hard for anyone to beat her. And if she can just carry that form into the final, she'll be fine. She'll win it quite comfortably. So let's see. I may be completely wrong. She may fall early. She may get nowhere near. But, that's what I've gone for. Caroline Garcia is my dark horse. And I've been quietly happy with how she's played at the start of this year. She's only played a couple of matches, but the United Cup matches, I know she lost to Swiatek, but she took the first set against her. She's looked pretty good. She's looked back to near-ish where her best was in 2022. And I just have a feeling that she's too good a player to be in this type of lull for a really long period. The one thing I'll say about her is, though, her Grand Slam results are not great. And she's only made one quarter-final, which was at Roland Garros in 2017, and one semi-final at the US Open, which was at 2022. Apart from that, some fourth rounds and third round, second round, first round results, she's got to do better at the slams. And I think Wimbledon is the perfect place to do that with her attacking brand of tennis, the way that she takes the ball early on the return. She loves to come forward, and her transition game is fantastic. Great volleyer as well. She's got a very unique style that I think, in my opinion, is really effective and can be very effective on the WTA tour if executed well. And she's the player to do it. So let's see if she's able to continue some of the momentum she's picked up at the start of this year in the first couple of matches, and really take that into the Australian Open and beyond. And I think Wimbledon might be the time when we see her make a really deep run and look particularly dangerous. The US Open. The US Open was a difficult one because it's going to be a lot of players, after the Olympics. At Roland Garros, it will be the Olympics on clay. And actually, I'll give you my predictions in a second for the Olympics as well. I'm going to go for Rybakina. Rybakina, I don't think will go particularly deep in the Olympics if she plays it and qualifies. So I see her being a bit more fresh. I think someone like a Sabalenka will go deep. Swiatek will probably go deep. Jabeur could even go deep. She's good on clay. Gauff could go deep. She's good on clay as well. Rybakina, I would say, is the weakest on clay out of all the top players. So I've gone for Rybakina to win the US Open. That is, again, assuming that she's going to stay fit and healthy and hopefully isn't fatigued from the season schedule. So I've gone for Rybakina to win her second Grand Slam at the US Open. And then my dark horse is Zheng Xinwen. And again, she could have a deeper run at the Olympics as she is pretty good on clay. But there are some very strong competitors in the field. So I'm going to go for her to be the dark horse of the US Open. And look, I mean, she made the quarterfinals last year, lost to Sabalenka. She's got a really impressive game. She's coming along nicely. I think it's about time that she made a really big splash, and I see her making the quarterfinals or better at the US Open coming up. And I could be completely wrong, and that's what's great about these predictions. They're all fun, but that's just how I see it at the moment. In terms of the Olympics, well, it's difficult. I think Swiatek will be a massive favourite, but playing for Poland, could it play on our mind? Maybe sometimes the Olympics are very random in terms of winners, in all honesty, and I don't know how well all the players are going to transition from clay to grass to then clay again at the Olympics. I think the Olympics, the singles, will be won by, this is a big call by the way, Maria Sakkari. That's what I'm going for. And my dark horse, or someone that I think might go deep, I don't know if she's technically a dark horse, Ostapenko. Now, I'm assuming that these players are going to qualify for the Olympics, by the way, so might not even qualify the countries as well. So, but that's what I'm going for. I just have a feeling Sakura might do something similar to what Zverev did in 2021, where she's playing some solid tennis and then playing for her country. She's G'd up. The surface, I think she's best on clay. I just have a feeling that it might just click for her in the format. And she's such a professional athlete. The conditions are very different, according to Djokovic as well, who mentioned that you don't have your whole team there and your physio, etc. And I feel like with her, she's very regimented, she's very disciplined, and I think she'll still thrive in those conditions. So she's a real competitive athlete. So I will go for her to win the Olympics. So my picks for the WTA Tour Grand Slam champions and dark horses, I have finalized my picks, and they are Australian Open winner of Sabalenka, dark horse Alina Svitolina. Roland Garros champion, I've gone with Iga Swiatek to defend her title, dark horse of Haddad Mayer. Wimbledon, I've gone for winner of Ons Jabeur and dark horse Caroline Garcia. And the US Open, I've gone for a winner of Elena Rybakina to win her second Grand Slam and dark horse of Zheng Xinwen. Let me know in the comment section below who you picked and why. Thank you very much, guys. Stay safe and well. I'll see you next video.